Ma'am, you need to step away from the entrance. This area is strictly for pre-registered guests and graduates' families with confirmed seating. The young event coordinator's voice was sharp, almost brittle, her eyes flicking dismissively from the small, worn piece of paper in the old woman's hand to the glowing screen of her tablet. Evelyn Hayes, all 5'2" of her, felt her already tired heart sink a little further. She clutched the handwritten invitation from her granddaughter, Anna, like a lifeline. The entrance to Chandler Auditorium at the prestigious Blackwood University School of Medicine buzzed with an almost electric energy. Families, resplendent in their celebratory best, chattered excitedly, their voices echoing in the grand, sunlit foyer. Evelyn, 68 years old and leaning heavily on an old umbrella that served more as a cane than for weather, felt acutely out of place. Her best dress, a lavender polyester number she'd kept for special occasions for over a decade, seemed drab and shapeless amidst the silks and tailored suits. The journey, 2 bus transfers and a bewildering city taxi ride, had left her joints aching and her sparse, gray hair clinging damply to her forehead. But the thought of seeing Anna, Dr. Anna Riley, receive her medical degree had propelled her forward. Brenda, the event coordinator, tapped impatiently on her tablet. Her bright blue polo shirt, emblazoned with the university crest, seemed to radiate an impersonal efficiency. "I don't have a Hayes or a Riley on my supplementary guest list for this entrance," she stated, not unkindly, but with the finality of a locked door. "You'll need to check at the general information desk outside, but I can't guarantee they'll have a seat for you this late." "But my granddaughter, Anna Riley, she sent me this." Evelyn's voice was soft, a little hoarse. She held out the invitation, Anna's familiar, looping script detailing the date, time, and her heartfelt wish for her grandmother to be there. "She really wants me here." The paper trembled slightly in her age-spotted hand. Brenda barely glanced at it. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but without official pre-registration in our system, I can't let you into the reserved family seating. Fire codes, security protocols, you understand." Her smile was tight, a mere formality. "Perhaps you can watch the live stream in the overflow hall." The overflow hall. Evelyn swallowed, a knot tightening in her chest. Anna. Her Anna. The granddaughter she'd helped raise after her own daughter, Anna's mother, had passed too young. Anna, who had her mother's bright spirit and a fierce determination that had seen her through grueling pre-med years and now, medical school. Evelyn remembered Anna as a little girl, bandaging her dolls with meticulous care, declaring she would fix everyone. Now, that little girl was about to become a doctor. It was a dream fulfilled, not just for Anna, but for Evelyn too, a legacy of caring she felt, in some small way, she had helped nurture. Missing this moment, being relegated to a screen in another building, felt like a physical ache. The journey itself had been an undertaking. Her meager pension barely stretched to cover necessities, let alone cross-state travel. She'd sold her late husband's small collection of antique tools, a poignant parting, to afford the bus ticket and a cheap motel room for one night. Her arthritis had flared angrily with every jolt of the bus, and the old shrapnel wound in her hip, a souvenir from a lifetime ago, throbbed a dull, constant rhythm. But she'd hummed old army tunes under her breath and focused on Anna's beaming face, a vision that had sustained her through far worse. Worse, for Evelyn, had a very specific context. Her mind, unbidden, drifted back to the scorching heat and acrid smell of burning oil in the Kuwaiti desert, 1991. Captain Evelyn Hayes, Army Nurse Corps, 34 years old then, though she'd felt ancient even at the time. She'd been head nurse of a mobile Army surgical hospital, a MASH unit pushed close to the front lines of Operation Desert Storm. She remembered the relentless whine of incoming Scud alerts, the controlled chaos of the triage tents, the exhaustion so profound it felt like a physical weight. She saw again the faces of young soldiers, boys really, their bodies torn by war, their eyes wide with fear or pain, or already vacant. Her hands, now gnarled with age, had once moved with swift, sure precision, staunching blood, inserting IVs, whispering words of comfort that were often swallowed by the din of generators and medevac helicopters. There was one night, a mass casualty event after a chemical weapons scare. The air in the tent was thick with the smell of sweat, fear, and antiseptic. They'd worked for 36 hours straight, a desperate, bloody ballet of saving lives against the odds. Evelyn had held a young private's hand as he'd slipped away, his last words a whispered plea for his mother. She'd closed his eyes, said a silent prayer, and turned to the next waiting stretcher, her own grief walled off, a luxury she couldn't afford. The stoop in her shoulders wasn't just from age, it was from years of bending over gurneys, of carrying the invisible weight of so much suffering. She'd come home with citations, a Bronze Star for her calm leadership under fire, and a quiet, insidious form of PTSD that made her jump at loud noises and prefer the solitude of her small garden to crowded rooms. This graduation, this celebration of life and healing, was meant to be an antidote, a joyful culmination. Brenda's voice pulled Evelyn sharply back to the present. "Ma'am, I really do need you to step aside. You're holding up the line." The coordinator's tone had sharpened further, a clear edge of impatience now. She gestured with her tablet towards the growing queue behind Evelyn. "The digital list is final," Brenda reiterated, as if speaking to a child. "These regulations are in place for everyone's safety and to ensure the event runs smoothly. We can't make exceptions." She didn't say it, but her expression implied Evelyn was an unwelcome anomaly, a glitch in her perfectly organized system. She suggested, with a forced brightness, that perhaps Evelyn could find a nice bench outside the auditorium. "The weather is quite pleasant today." A few people in the line behind Evelyn craned their necks, their expressions ranging from mild curiosity to open annoyance. One woman in an expensive-looking silk dress sighed audibly. An elderly gentleman, perhaps a university trustee, frowned with disapproval, though whether at Evelyn or the situation was unclear. No one spoke up. No one met Evelyn's gaze. In that moment, she felt the familiar sting of invisibility, the burden of being old and seemingly unimportant in a world rushing towards the next bright, shiny thing. The fight, what little there had been, drained out of her. Humiliation, cold and sharp, pricked at her eyelids. She wouldn't make a scene. Not at Anna's graduation. Anna deserved a perfect day, unmarred by her grandmother's inability to navigate a simple check-in. I understand," Evelyn murmured, her voice barely a whisper. "Thank you." She clutched her purse and the now useless invitation to her chest, a deep weariness settling over her. With a small, almost imperceptible nod, she turned. Each step towards the main exit felt heavy, her old umbrella tapping a slow, sorrowful rhythm on the polished marble floor. The festive sounds of the foyer seemed to mock her retreat. She focused on placing one foot in front of the other, a slow, dignified surrender. Evelyn had almost reached the imposing glass doors of the main exit when a voice, clear and carrying an unmistakable note of authority, cut through the ambient murmur of the foyer. "Hold on a moment there, Captain." Evelyn paused, her heart giving a startled leap. That voice. She turned slowly, her tired eyes searching. Four women, impeccably dressed in smart civilian attire, tailored suits and elegant dresses, were rising from a cluster of seats in a roped-off section near the auditorium entrance, clearly reserved for special guests or distinguished alumni. They were all around Evelyn's age, perhaps a few years younger, but they moved with a shared poise and an upright bearing that spoke of a different kind of training. One of them, a tall, striking woman with silver hair swept back in a chic style and piercing dark eyes, was already striding purposefully towards Brenda, the event coordinator. "Excuse me, young lady," the silver-haired woman said, her tone polite but firm enough to make Brenda visibly straighten. "There seems to be some confusion regarding this guest." She gestured towards Evelyn. "May I ask what the issue is?" Brenda, momentarily flustered by this unexpected intervention from the VIP section, stammered, This lady isn't on the pre-approved seating list for immediate family, ma'am. I was just explaining the protocol." The silver-haired woman's eyebrow arched. "Not on the list. Are you quite certain?" She didn't wait for an answer. "This," she announced, her voice resonating with a quiet power that drew the attention of everyone nearby, is Captain Evelyn Hayes, United States Army Nurse Corps, retired. She is the grandmother of one of your most distinguished graduates today, Dr. Anna Riley. Another of the women, shorter, with a kind face but eyes that held a no-nonsense glint, stepped forward to stand beside her friend. And if Captain Hayes isn't considered immediate family enough to witness her granddaughter's achievement, she added, her voice equally firm, then I dare say none of us belong here either. You can consider our entire university donation rescinded. Brenda's jaw had dropped. Captain. Donation. The third woman, who wore a discreet lapel pin Evelyn recognized as a combat medic badge, spoke, her voice thick with emotion. Let me tell you something about Captain Hayes. She looked directly at Brenda, then her gaze swept over the now silent onlookers. I was a terrified 19-year-old private, a combat medic, greener than grass, during Desert Storm. Our forward aid station took a direct hit. It was chaos. Fire, smoke, screams. I froze. Absolutely froze. Captain Hayes, our head nurse, literally dragged me under a collapsing tent frame, shielding me with her own body just as the rest of it came down. Then, with shrapnel in her own arm, she organized the evacuation of 3 critically wounded soldiers before allowing anyone to look at her own injuries. Her voice cracked. She didn't just save my life that day, she showed me what courage and selfless service truly mean. That woman, she pointed a trembling finger at Evelyn, is a hero. And you're telling her she's not on the list. The foyer, which had been a cacophony of excited chatter moments before, fell into a stunned, almost reverent silence. The story of Evelyn's battlefield heroism, delivered with such raw emotion, hung in the air, electrifying the atmosphere. People who had previously glanced at Evelyn with indifference or mild annoyance now stared, their expressions shifting to awe, then to a dawning shame. Whispers rippled through the crowd, no longer speculative about a confused old woman, but filled with words like hero, veteran, army nurse. Brenda's face, which had been a mask of officious certainty, had crumpled. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving her looking ashen. Her hand, still clutching the tablet, trembled visibly. She looked from the formidable group of retired officers, for that's what they clearly were, their bearing and the respect they commanded undeniable, to the frail, stooped figure of Evelyn Hayes, and for the first time, she seemed to truly see her. The glitch in her system was a decorated war veteran. The interruption was the beloved grandmother of a star graduate. The realization of her blunder, her profound disrespect, hit her with the force of a physical blow. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, words failing her. Evelyn, meanwhile, was overwhelmed. Tears, hot and unexpected, streamed down her wrinkled cheeks. These women, her sisters in arms, friends forged in the crucible of war, women she hadn't seen in years, some of them. That they remembered, that they would stand for her like this, it was too much. She reached out a trembling hand, as if to grasp onto their strength. "Oh, my dears," she whispered, her voice choked. You shouldn't have, all this fuss." One of the women, the silver-haired leader who Evelyn now vaguely remembered as Colonel Ramirez, a formidable surgeon back in the day, stepped to Evelyn's side and gently took her arm. "Nonsense, Evie," she said softly, using an old nickname. "Some lists are just plain wrong. And some people," she added, with a pointed look at Brenda, "need to learn to recognize true distinction when it's standing right in front of them." Another woman, Major Thompson, who had been a young lieutenant under Evelyn, produced a handkerchief and gently dabbed at Evelyn's eyes. The quiet solidarity of these women, their unwavering loyalty, was a bulwark against the earlier humiliation. The commotion near the entrance hadn't gone unnoticed within the auditorium's antechamber, where the graduates were lining up. Anna Riley, her heart already fluttering with a mixture of excitement and nerves beneath her doctoral gown, heard snippets of conversation, grandmother, veteran, not allowed in. A cold dread seized her. Her grandmother. Excusing herself from the line, she hurried towards the foyer, her academic hood askew. She spotted the small cluster of people, her frail grandmother, looking bewildered and tearful, surrounded by several distinguished older women she vaguely recognized from old photographs her grandmother kept, and a very flushed-eyeing event coordinator. "Grandma!" Anna cried out, rushing forward and pushing past the startled usher. She threw her arms around Evelyn, hugging her tightly. "Grandma, you made it. I was so worried." She felt her grandmother tremble in her embrace. Then, seeing the tears on Evelyn's face and sensing the lingering tension, Anna straightened up, her eyes, so like her grandmother's in their quiet determination, flashing. She turned to face Brenda and the onlookers, her voice ringing out clear and proud, "This is my grandmother, Captain Evelyn Hayes, retired Army nurse. She flew halfway across the country, even though she's not well, just to be here for me today. She is the reason I was inspired to become a doctor, to help people, just like she did. If she is not welcome here, if she is not honored here," Anna's voice broke, "then this gown, this degree, it means nothing to me." Anna's passionate declaration hung in the air for a moment, followed by a beat of stunned silence, and then, a wave of applause. It started hesitantly, then swelled, rolling through the foyer and into the auditorium itself as people understood what had transpired. Brenda, thoroughly mortified, began to stammer an apology. Just then, a distinguished-looking man in an academic robe, clearly a university dean or senior faculty member who had been alerted to the situation, bustled over. "Captain Hayes, Dr. Riley," he said, his voice warm with apology and respect. "Please, accept our deepest apologies for this unacceptable error. Of course, you are our honored guest." He personally escorted Evelyn, Anna, and Evelyn's squad to a specially arranged front-row seating area, ensuring Evelyn had the best possible view. As Evelyn sat, surrounded by her beloved granddaughter and her cherished friends, the applause washing over them, she felt a profound sense of peace. True honor, she reflected, wasn't about being on a list or wearing a fancy dress. It was in the quiet acts of service, the unseen sacrifices, the love that bound generations, and the loyalty of comrades who never forgot. It was about being seen, truly seen, for who you were and what you had given. Comment below, who is a quiet hero in your life or community, perhaps a woman whose service or strength often goes unrecognized, who deserves more acknowledgement. Let's show our respect for all veterans, especially women veterans whose stories are not always told, and for all individuals who have dedicated their lives to serving others in unseen ways. If Evelyn's story of courage and camaraderie touched your heart, please like this video, share it to honor these quiet heroes, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of true honor.